There's premeditation, there's a facilitation, and then there's the cover-up.
A former Xavier University coach faces a sex charge, and the alleged victim's lawyer claims she's not the only one. Good evening, everybody. A Xavier basketball player levels some very serious charges against the former assistant coach who recruited her to Cincinnati.
Bryce McKee is charged with misdemeanor sex abuse after meeting up with a woman on the team in May. At his Local 12's Joe Webb reports he has the story live from Covington for us. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Cammie, we need to make one thing perfectly clear in this. All happened after Bryce McKee left Xavier University for a job at the University of Maryland. Well, now that job is history after he was arraigned here in Covington this morning for sex abuse, and we now know more charges are possible. Bryce McKee spent 4 years on Xavier's bench before he was hired by the University of Maryland in April. On May 2nd, as he was preparing to move out of his Covington apartment, he called a woman he had coached on Xavier's basketball team and asked her to come over.
He was leaving. Mr. McKee was leaving, and he wanted to say goodbye. And this young lady saw or thought nothing negative of it.
But the criminal complaint describes an uncomfortable encounter. After some drinks, the woman says McKee grabbed her buttocks twice and tried to kiss her as she left.
There was obviously, in our mind, some grooming, contemplation, planning, as any manipulative and abusive person would do in selecting their victims.
McKee had known the player since she was a girl. He recruited her to Xavier. She trusted him. Her family trusted him. Her father says he feels betrayed.
My daughter had been with Bryce for years, AAU, and he recruited her for college, and I trusted him with my daughter, sacred, for protection, and also I trusted Xavier.
McKee's sex abuse charge is a misdemeanor, but other charges are also possible. The prosecutor and police are reviewing allegations from a second Xavier player McKee met up with the same night.
And after she left, she said later on, one of her teammates went over, and something similar or deeper took place with her.
Separate young woman in succession to this assault. After one woman left, he got on the phone and called another.
Same night?
Same night. With alcohol and sex on his mind.
Now, I spoke with Xavier Athletic Director Greg Christopher this afternoon. He says this whole scenario came to light when Xavier's women's coach heard about it from the player and immediately called police. Now, we also need to point out this happened when McKee was no longer an employee at Xavier. Christopher says if any allegations of this kind had surfaced when McKee was working for Xavier, they would have been dealt with immediately. He says the welfare and safety of students is the university's top priority. Cammie?
All right, Joe Webb, thank you. The family also claims Bryce McKee offered to pay the players to keep them from pressing charges against him. We just learned that McKee resigned from his job at the University of Maryland today. He faces up to 90 days in jail and a fine if he is convicted. McKee is due in court September 8th.